I've just been at the Melbourne Recital Centre to watch some Vivaldi, or listen to some Vivaldi by the Australian Brandenburg Orchestra, and now I'm walking past that place. Oh, there's so much light and colour and movement this time of night. I want to talk about joy. Because I haven't talked much about joy. I was given a talk about the nervous system recently, and one of my dear colleagues, friends, popped her hand up and said, "What about joy?" And I went, joy. Because I'd been talking about awe. There's a fair bit of awe going on as we listen to several hundred-year-old music tonight. A fair bit of awe in the audience. What was coming off the stage was joy, I reckon. The leader of the orchestra on this occasion was this lady, Augusta Mackay Lodge, or Mackay, not sure. And she's got a big smile there, but that makes her look sort of cool. She wasn't cool. She was a big dag, I gotta say. And this was terrific. This was wonderful, because Vivaldi's music from an era that we sort of think of as being really old, and it had Bach in it, and Bach was pretty serious, although I'm sure he was capable of being less serious at times. We think of him as pretty serious, and we think of the Baroque era as being pretty serious. But there was a cheekiness to the way that the lead violinist, who was playing the stuff that was written for Anna Maria della Pieta, the orphan that Vivaldi dedicated some of his music to. She was cheeky, and she made us laugh. This really, really old music had all this extra life in it, and it did make me think about joy. That I want to think a bit more about it. I want to read a bit more about it, and I want to look for it more in my work, my paid work, but also my unpaid work of sitting down at the piano. People talk about joy being infectious, and that's what I kind of hope. There's some stuff, for example, Daniel Stern, one of my favourite personality theorists, researchers and writers and clinicians, died in 2012 and wrote a beautiful book in the mid-1980s called The Interpersonal World of the Infant. And he coined the term vitality affects for babies and their way of communicating shifts in mood with their bodies. And I recall that he talked about the word enthusiasm and its etymological origins. That thus is God or the gods. Enthusiasm is to put essentially the gods into you, the energy of the gods into you. So that's why I make this recording, because I've come out of this theatre where all this joy was pouring off the stage from hundreds of years ago. And we give it to each other. That's how humans work. We're not individuals. What else can I quote at you? Another Daniel Siegel, said the separate self is a toxic lie, and he said it twice at a theatre not so far from here in 2022. The separate self is a toxic lie. He said he comes from the most individualistic country on the planet, the USA, and look what's happening there. Look what's happened. So getting joy from each other, together, listening to a small orchestra filled with the enthusiasm, filled with the energy of the gods from so long ago, created in a religious setting for people's joy. I want to look into that. I want to see how we can trace it as just as interesting and just as important as people's pain and suffering. Because how do we get through pain and suffering? Well, in Venice in 1725, you might not be here next week because they didn't have penicillin. Well, you needed other ways to make sense of your life, to be able to tolerate that uncertainty. There was an orphanage where you put your baby that you couldn't keep for whatever reason, shame quite likely, in a little drawer that you pushed in, as the actor who was playing Anna Maria tonight told us. That was the brutal nature of life at that time. The brutality might have disappeared from the surface of humanity, certainly in these parts of the world, not in other parts. But we know the brutality. It's still in us. It's epigenetically still in us. So when we listen to what Vivaldi created for living with that brutality, I think it really resonates. So that's why I'm sort of thinking that joy was not a luxury. It was not a luxury. Think of it as a luxury now. You're getting by, you're doing okay, great, all right. Any joy in your life? No, it doesn't really matter. I'm just, getting by, paying the bills, What if it's not a luxury? What if we think of it as essential? All right, that's enough for me. I might play some piano a bit later on.